Kahalo Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Akakudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone of well. I am not a member, however, I've entered into their labors. Peace and mercy to the sincere brothers and sisters doing this wherever you are, whatever your life may be. And this is just, I guess, a touch on the video, two videos ago, where, coming up under the proper vibration, and I mentioned about the, Israel and Judah being joined together, right, closing up the breaches. And so what we're going to do is talk about grafting in, or it is graft, Graffed, within the Old English, but Graft or grafting is in the modern English. So we're going to read a little bit here, but the point is going to be from 17 to about the 21st verse. We'll read it in the KJV, we'll read it in the NLT, and then we're going to dig a little bit into grafting and what it means in a horticulture sense, all right, or inoculation, which I have here pulled up. We'll get other precepts, and then that will be the video. All right, so, oh, here we go. We'll start at the top, right? I say then, hath Yahweh cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Right. So we want there is your setting right there. There's your that's the premise of this thing. It is about the Lord or Yahweh not casting away his people, because when you try to pull it up, on Google, it'll say it's the grafting in of the actual Israelites with the non, or as it says verbatim, the Jews and the Gentiles, aka non-Jews, right? Well, we understand that these are all of the same bloodline, especially because he starts it off with affirming who he is and him being sent unto the uncircumcision, right? So what we're going to do is replace Gentile with uncircumcision, or we can say like Hellenista, all right? And those are Greek speaking, verbatim Greek speaking Jews, but we understand they are Israelites who grew up in Greekish fashion. There are many just a video on top of video of explaining this in detail, all right, in exhaustive detail. Go find it if you need. Here comes my dog. Go find it if you need, anything in depth, all right, where that you can take notes on. This is just, something that we're touching on here real quick. All right, so we're moving on to verse 2. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Well, yet not what the scripture says of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. And what is that? What is this here that they're talking about? I do believe, let's see. Let me just make sure that we're on the same page here. When Elijah was in the book, I think of First or Second Kings, where they were casting down the prophets of Baal. Yes, that is okay. And here's your cross reference: First King 18:4. All right, for it was so that Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Lord, or prophets of Yahweh, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50 in a cave and fed them with bread and water. Right. And you can scroll through and read through the book of Kings, okay? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahweh of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Who said that? Elijah or Elijah? I forget sometimes. I believe it's Elijah, all right? Yes, Elijah, okay. We want to make sure we're giving the right information, all right? So, that's that preset here. This is a heritage about the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, known as the Israelites. Okay, so we're going to skip to 17, and what we're going to do, we'll read 13, and we'll read it in the KJV, and then we'll skip down. You know what? You can read it in the KJV. I'm gonna change it to the NLT on this one. Okay, and then we're gonna get also grafted in. We're gonna get those words and those definitions. Where are we at? Okay, so this is Romans 11 and 11. All right, and this is in the NLT. Did God's people stumble and fall beyond recovery? Of course not. They were disobedient, so Yahweh made salvation available to the Israelite foreigners, okay, but he wanted his own people to become jealous and claim it for themselves, right? Get them to act, get some act right in it. Now, when we get the definition here, when we read through inoculation, you're going to see why Paul chose these specific words as he said, right? He wanted to make them make them jealous and then want it for themselves. Okay, remember that. Put your finger in that right there. Okay, but before we go on, make salvation available. Let's get Gentile. I want to see what it says. I wonder if they've changed it already. Ethnos. All right, multitude, where men of breast associated or living together, a company of troop, multitude of individuals, same nature of genus. Okay, a tribe, a nation, people group, right? And then, they have to throw in that is the human family, right? But we understand the Lord separated the nations, and He chose Israel. He chose Israel to be His own. Okay, yeah, that is a fact that cannot be refuted. No matter how many ways they try to change the subject and lie and distort and pervert, that is something that cannot be refuted. Sorry. I wanted to say they perverted it and refuted at the same time. Okay. 11 and 12. Now the Israelite foreigners, or the uncircumcision, were enriched because the people of Israel turned down Yahweh's offer of salvation, think how much greater a blessing the world will share when they finally accept it, right? Then closing up the breaches thereof. Now we will go to Deuteronomy 32 and 21, and we'll come back. Actually, let's open up another one. We got it before. Yep. You definitely read this before. Come on, man. 32:21, the Song of Moses. All right, and that should be the cross reference when you go into that particular verse that we just read in Romans 11. Deuteronomy 32:21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. And why were they foolish? Because they knew not who they were. They knew not their customs. They knew not the they didn't know the responsibility they had, but they did as they went from glory to glory and know who they were, whose they were also. Foolish, Nebal. Excuse me. So let's get that. Okay, foolish and senseless. All right. Root word. To treat with contempt. Okay. All right. Now let's see if there's Deuteronomy 32 in one of these cross references that we can get. It should be. Ezekiel, do you think that I like to see wicked people die? And oh, that's okay. It's my fault. It is broken down. But here are the phrases: how they stumble, they fall. X, X, X. Okay, so let's see if it's on the next one then. What did we get? Did we say 11? So let's look at 12. Or did I already get 12? Isaiah. Okay. And of course, the rest of the cross references are going to be in the book of Romans, or in the chapter 11 of Romans. Huh. They might have missed some here. Okay, no worries. The point still stands. Let's keep going. Verse 12. Now, if the Israelite foreigners, okay, or the uncircumcision, were enriched because the people of Israel turned down Yahweh's offer of salvation, thinking how much greater the blessing would the world be, when they finally accept it. I am saying all this especially for you Israelite foreigners. Okay, that's what we're going to replace with. Yahweh has appointed me as the apostle. Then I will just say Gentiles. I stress this, for I want somehow to make people, the people of Israel, jealous of what you Israelite foreigners have. Right? They have the Spirit. All right, they had the Holy Spirit because they trusted in Yahweh Shai, not even knowing. Right? They woke up, they had the Spirit, and they know. All right, here's what I'm supposed to do, and they found a way and they walked in it, turning neither to the right or to the left. Right? So, all right, and he says, so he may save some of them. Now, remember, there are some redeemable qualities, as we read in that in that first verse up here. All right, there's redeemable qualities that he wanted the circumcision to have. All right, and it will be a good balance. The circumcision has something that the uncircumcision has, and vice versa. All right, which is why we have graft and inoculation. Okay, inoculation by human hand or by or what we would call in this instance a divine intervention here pushing together is called grafting. All right, but the process when you graft is inoculate. Okay, but he wanted his own people to come jealous and claim it for themselves. Right, that's what we were looking at. um they rejected. Okay, 16. And since Abraham and the other patriarchs were holy, their descendants will also be holy, just as the entire batch of dough is holy, because the portion given as an offering is holy. For if the roots of the tree are holy, the branches will be too. But some of these branches from Abraham's tree, some of these people of Israel, have been broken off, and you Israelite foreigners who were branches from a wild olive tree have been grafted in, so now you also receive the blessing of Yahweh as has promised Abraham and his children. And there's your another indicator, right? Abraham, Isaac to Jacob. And that pattern follows consistently throughout the scriptures. So there's indicating some bloodline linkage here, right? But you must not brag about being grafted in to replace the branches that were broken off. You are just a branch and not the root. Right? I mean, you ain't Yahweh Shai. All right, we're all joined, foreigners, circumcision and uncircumcised alike, joined by the simplicity in Yahweh Shai. And the ones that could not accept it, yeah, that's by pain. Okay, so let's get grafted or graft so we can read through and get our point up here that I have in this other window. Damn, I pressed the wrong one, I think. Damn it. Okay, what did I say? But you must not brag about being grafted. Yeah. Broken off. You are just a branch, not the root. Well, you may say those branches were broken off to make room for me. Yes, but remember, those branches were broken off because they didn't believe in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. And you are there because you do believe. So don't think highly of yourself, but fear what could happen, right? Fear that you lose the spirit, fear that you lose your zeal, all right? Fear that that your pride and your lack of humility will get you the same result as those who thought that they could boast in the law, in the old covenant. Now let's get back to where we were here, grafted. What the? Am I tripping? 11 and 18. But you must not brag about being grafted. Do not be arrogant toward. It's in the KJV. I think that's what I'm looking at. Where is? Jeez Louise. Okay, fine. 18. You must not brag about being grafted. Why do I not see grafted when I click 18? Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Well, you may say those branches are broken off. It grafted says it's in here somewhere else, but I want to get that definition as well. Grafted. To graft, okay?
Strong's G 1461. Egcentrizo. Egcentrizo.
Okay, to cut in for the sake of intersecting a scion, to inoculate, engraft, graft in. Let's get the root words in, by, with, etc. Okay. A primary preposition. What others? Okay, into. All right, towards. Got it. Okay. What are you? Out from. So into and out from. We got that top one there. What is this one? A sting of bees, scorpions, locusts. All right, so basically insert wound by their sting. Okay, gotcha. Now, we read through being grafted. Let me see what else we can get before we move on to our second. Damn. our second tab. Good grief, I couldn't get that out. All right, we are the train. We are just a branch and not the root. Well, you may say those branches were broken off to make room for me. Yes, but remember these branches were broken off, right? We read that. Okay, so don't think yourself fear what could happen. For if Yahweh did not spare the original branches, He won't spare you either, right? Don't get proud. Notice how Yahweh is both kind and severe. He is severe towards those who disobey, but kind if you continue to trust in His kindness. But if you stop trusting, you also will be cut off. And if the people of Israel turn from their unbelief, they will be grafted in again. For Yahweh has the power to graft them back into the tree. You by nature were a branch cut from a wild tree. So if Yahweh was willing to do something contrary to nature by grafting you in to his cultivated tree, all right, so there's a wild tree, there's a wild one of the same genus, and then there's a cultivated one, right? So you need aspects of the wild one and you need aspects of the cultivated one, okay, which is why they were grafted. He will be far more eager to graft the original branches back in to the tree that where they belong. So we'll switch it back to the KJV, go back to 17, okay, because there was one other thing that I wanted to get with another precept. All right, both not against the branches. With the cannot be grafted in. For Yahweh spared the natural branches, or spared not, right? Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity. While by nature, and were grafted in contrary to nature and idolatry, how much more shall these which be the natural branches be grafted in their own tree? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest, and this is verse 25 here, lest ye should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Okay, and I want to make sure I get everything before we move on. I think I'm missing one more scripture here in this same chapter. Okay, and so all Israel shall be saved, right? As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and Yahweh, right? Is Yahweh Shai's name not he delivers, he who delivers? Okay, and shall turn away the ungodliness from Jacob, for this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. All right. Right, joining up, closing up the breaches thereof between Israel, not only Israel and Judah, but of the circumcised and the uncircumcised, of the circumcision and uncircumcision. Those things go hand in hand. All right, and thus all Israel being saved. So that would be fulfilled in the near future here. Okay, because Judah and Israel were oppressed together. We are oppressed together here in Babylon. And as we return to the Holy Land after a couple of more prophecies, a couple of more major and scary in the flesh prophecies, we will return to the land. There will be no more war, and the breaches will be closed up. Judah and Israel will be one. And after the 144,000, that first fruit does what they need to do, the 2/3 will come back, through childbirth, and all Israel will be saved in that matter. Okay, so the current state of what's going on has nothing to do with actual Bible prophecy, with the exception, or unless you mean talking about Ezekiel I believe it's 36, where the heathen have appointed his land into themselves. That's how they fit. Okay, and let's see. I got that. I got that. But I did mention, being one body, right? Grafting them in under Yahweh Shai, right? So let's go to First Corinthians, and then we'll get to our, we'll finally get to our scientific portion here about grafting and inoculation. First Corinthians 12 and 12, I believe. Okay, for as the body is one and hath many members, and all the members of that one body being many are one body, so also is Hamashiach Yahushai. Okay, well, because we ride off his sacrifice, the grace and being able to be grafted back in, being able to have the understanding of the scriptures, being able to be given that second chance through grace is only because of Yahweh Shai's second sacrifice, right? Okay, and then what else do we need? All right, so yeah, that's that part. Now let's go ahead and get what this AI overview says about this term, and we'll read it word for word, verbatim. The term of two plants growing together and fusing is called inoculation, a natural phenomenon. The horticulture technique where this is intentionally done by humans is called grafting. Inoculation. Inoculation is the natural process where the the trunks, branches, or roots of trees grow together and their vascular tissues connect. Now, look at that one body. That's why we got that. And this usually happens when the bark of two parts is rubbed away by movement like wind, and the intercambium layers make contact and form a union. Grafting. Grafting is a deliberate horticulture technique used to join the parts of two plants so they grow as a single plant. It is used to combine the desirable qualities of different plants, such as joining a high fruit yielding top part, the scion, onto a disease resistant or specific sized root system, rootstock. Repairing damaged trees or changing the variety of existing trees. Inoculation. The term inoculation generally refers to different processes in a botanical context. Give me a second. Salaki. Alright, we're back. My apologies. Okay. All right. What is it? We got inoculation. Generally refers to, that's what we read. Okay. Introducing microorganisms. This is the act of adding specific beneficial microorganisms like rhizobia bacteria or mycorrhizal fungi to the seed or soil. So this is getting a little bit deep into it. So there's inoculation and then inoculation. I was saying that wrong. Okay, but inoculation and grafting are what we are focusing on. So my bad on that. All right, and did we get that? Okay, we got that. The art of grafting. Look at that. Two shall be joined as one, where two separate parts of a plant or two separate plants grow together as one. It's a wonderful example of an old oak tree. So, okay, let's have a look, and then that'll be the video. Well, the point has been made. And look at that. Grown together. Now they are sharing the same nutrients that come from the roots of the tree itself. All right, sharing everything as would be Yahushua being that root. All right, coming up under the proper vibration. Everybody knowing what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody praying how they're supposed to be praying, and under following law, statutes, and commandments, operating under grace. All right? Same. And that is why most of the things in the Bible, the parables, are linked to husbandry. All right, growing up trees and plants and cattle. Very beautifully put. Because the old ways always work. Seek ye the old path. This new stuff that they doing in these weird labs, it is unnatural. Natural things that occur over time last forever because it is ordained. All right. So with that being said, I pray that you were edified. I pray that this was something that made sense to you, and you are inspired to go and do your own video or do your own more reading or digging or do more reading and doing more research. Doing a deep dive in things of whatever may have inspired you within the time of this video. All right. So again, on to the next. Shalom.